Hello everyone and welcome back to My Opinion. South Africa have won this game by 7 wickets and now the series is level 1-1. And so yeah, they thoroughly deserve this win. And honestly, with the way that they batted in the fourth innings, I don't think anyone expected them to do that because there was a talk about, especially with what they've done in the previous 3 innings, there was kind of a talk that South Africa shouldn't concede a lead over 200, but unfortunately for them, or at least at the time it seemed like that. India scored 266, meaning that they had to score 240 to win the game on tough conditions. And I think that honestly, yeah, they kind of maintain the balance between kind of keeping the good balls out and counterattacking, which is the way to go on this kind of a surface. And India also did that in the third innings, because you're bound to get one with your name on it on this kind of a surface where the bowler's always in the game. And I think that they showed that balance brilliantly. And yes, a 7 wicket win in the situation that they were in, it honestly hats off to them. And so from the beginning, in India, so KL Rahul won the toss and chose to bat first. And Rahul was captain in this test instead of Kohli because Kohli had a back spasm. So Rahul being the vice captain, he was captain. And so Vihari was in the team for Kohli, in Kohli's place. And for South Africa, Wian Moda was dropped and Duan Olive came in. So KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, they kind of, for the majority of the first session, they kind of played the ball out quite well. And the South Africans, they improved on the lack of discipline they showed in the last game. They actually bowled them quite well in this game throughout the game. And I think especially if you look at Marco Jansen with 4 for 31 overall in 17 overs, he was guilty of bowling far too many boundary balls in the last game. Even in the 4 that he took in the second innings was quite expensive. So to give this kind of performance in the first innings of this test to set the tone, I think it was a great performance from him. And so, the Indian openers did quite well to play out the deliveries leading into kind of the close of the first session. But Mayank Agarwal was showing more intent out of the two, got out. Then Pujara got out for 3 off 33. And then the very next ball, Ajinkya Rahane kind of played a ball a bit too wide and it was caught. So India, after the first session, India were 53 for 3. And Rahul and Vihari were batting. Now, the thing is, I thought India was still in the game with the personnel they had at the crease, but I still think that yes, it was South Africa's session by far. The partnership kind of went along for a while until Vihari got caught with a one-handed stunner by Van der Dusen in a short leg. The ball propped up when he had to defend off Rabada, and it was caught. And honestly, he kind of the ball went past him a few times, kind of near that area. But in this case, he was alert, and the other ones weren't necessarily opportunities, but he was alert, and he got a brilliant one-handed catch. And at one point, India were 146 for 5. Now, what they would have been disappointed about in this case was because they didn't really get the runs that they required after this point. I mean, there was kind of talk, I think it was the end of the second session then, and there was kind of talk whether if you look at the likes of Pant, Ashwin and Shardul Thakur, Mohammad Shami, maybe, you would think that if they could just get 220 kind of score, then it would be okay. But India, basically, Ashwin scored a brilliant 46 or 50. But apart from him, India only scraped past 200 because Bumrah hit 14 off 11, an unbeaten 14 off 11, I think. And he hit a 4 and a 6 off Rabada. So, and I think another 4 as well. So, they got 202 all out, and the standout bowler for me was Marco Jansen. And pretty much everyone was good. And Marco Jansen especially, bouncing back from the thing which he struggled with, which is kind of the discipline from the previous test. I think really, a great job from him. So South Africa was played in their innings, and they got 229. So the first wicket to go was Aiden Markram. And he honestly... It was a ball where he kind of moved too far. He moved across to the off stump, and he kind of missed the straight one, so it was pretty much plumb. Keegan Peterson played brilliantly. I thought even in the last video I said that even despite he didn't get too many kind of scores he kind of got in the teens in the first and second innings, he did look good while playing them, and he seems to play especially pace bowling very well. He seems to be kind of an aesthetic when he bats, and it's good to watch him bat. And I think that he got the runs at a fair rate as well, 62 of 118, and he honestly played very well. So yeah, that was him. And then Rassi van der Dusen got out in a kind of a controversial way, really, for 1 of 17, whether the ball carried or not. And you could argue either way. And thing is, we've even seen the fact that in the actual camera, it looked like it didn't carry, but then I can understand why they said there wasn't conclusive evidence, because even in other games, we've seen that even for whether it be keepers or even outfielders, or rather, it's like kind of infielders when they catch the ball, you'd think that it looks as if the ball bounced before it went into their hands, and it kind of a lot of the time it gets given in the favor of the batsman. And in this case, I thought that there wasn't really enough evidence, and since Van der Dusen walked, the decision was given out. It was basically out. So yeah, I think that the reason why, and actually before I get to him, Bavuma, honestly, the thing is, in most of his kind of career, you'd think that he's been in and out of the team quite a few times, and especially I don't think that people would be too happy that he's the captain of the limited overs team, because you think that there'll be better players. But if there's one thing, honestly, which is kind of undeniable, is that if you put him in a home test, he becomes a completely different player. And the innings that he's played on not only in this series but other series as well, it's 51 of 60 in this innings. He scored a half century in the other innings and was unbeaten in the second innings. So he's honestly looked very good every single time he's walked into bat. And yeah, he scored it at an excellent rate. And so yeah, very well done to him. And yeah, he looks to be playing very well now. And he's again, yeah, in home tests, he's honestly the guy for South Africa. I think that he just improves so much and becomes a completely different player almost. Then Kyle Verreynne. Now, I spoke about Ryan Rickleton in the previous video, and I have heard about Kyle Verreynne as well, so I'm not surprised they went for him. And yeah, he scored 21 of 72. Marco Jansen, 21 of 34, continuing kind of the good test match he was having. And Keshav Maharaj, 21 of 29. Now, honestly, I think personally they should have kind of dropped Maharaj and played Moda, because you would think Moda would kind of get the same amount of runs, and a medium pacer in the conditions that are good for kind of more the faster bowlers. I think you could have almost counted him as a solid bowling option. So I think with Maharaj only bowling 2 overs in the entire test match and giving 14 runs, I just think that it just wasn't. There wasn't really much for him to do. And I do feel bad for him, because he's kind of playing in a country where in the home series there is nothing to do. But yeah, it is what it is, and I honestly think that they probably could have and should have played more. But 229 all out, and I think the bowler that kept India in the game was Siraj. And I know it looks quite expensive, 61 and 17.5, but honestly, he made things happen, which he does more often. And especially with Siraj going off or not bowling after his 9.5 overs, because he had a kind of a hamstring pull. There was only 4. It's kind of 4 bowlers to share the workload. You wouldn't really. There was nothing for Ashwin on the pitch bar basically today, and so you'd effectively think it's up to 3 bowlers to really get the wickets. And yeah, it was a very high workload, but they just about managed it. And I think Thakur basically kept them in the game with 7 wickets. Yeah, it was an outstanding performance. Then India, 266. Now, it didn't start off. It kind of started off in a bit. I think the third and fourth innings were, especially the third, was quite kind of a counter-attacking innings, because yes, the fourth innings, especially today, was what I'm saying. KL Rahul 8 of 21, and then Mayank Agarwal was batting so well for 23, but then he kind of left one which he shouldn't have left, and yeah, the ball was hitting the stumps, and so he got out OBW. Now Pujara and Rahane batted brilliantly. Now I've even said before, if you want, these two are kind of the big situation players, and especially if you look at Rahane, the 50s that he scored overseas when India's most needed it. I even said before, you look at and talking about Pujara as well, which was first going out to Pujara and Labuschagne. These are 2 players that, especially at number 3 in tests, whatever they do, you have to give them a long rope. I mean, it's basically, you just cannot drop them, because they provide something which no one else in test cricket provides, which is just being an absolute rock at number 3. And I think that even if you put one of the openers, if you put Manka Agarwal at number 3, you just wouldn't think that. Well, he's not. He's a brilliant player, but you wouldn't say he's a rock like Pujara. And it's same for Australia. Like if Labuschagne one day had a bad run, even if he had an extended bad run, they just wouldn't be able to drop him because they would know that he brings something else to the team that no one else brings. And I just think that that's the reason why Pujara basically, and it's to his credit, he's established himself to be the type of player and to kind of show the kind of skills that he probably would never be able to be dropped in my view. And yeah, rightfully so. And Rahane, I even said before, right, I'm very happy that the selectors chose him from the first test rather than Shreyas because I think that with the short ball weakness, I think that to bat in India, sure, but I think with the short ball weakness, probably wouldn't have been too great in this series against in South Africa against this kind of attack with the ball shooting up from the pitch. And I just think that as I said, with the overseas 50s that he scores, he seems to be he seems to be providing the goods whenever India need him to, and that's why I said that. And I'll say it again, that trio, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, they just cannot be separated in Test cricket. And I think, in fact, I actually think that Shreyas Iyer, the reason why they played him in India was because they knew that Rahane was going to be starting in the Test in South Africa, but they just wanted to give Rahane a warning to say there are players there. And it kind of if you don't score the runs. But I think they always knew that Rahane was going to be starting in South Africa. So, they both scored excellent 50s. And Vihari also ended up with an unbeaten 40 off 84. So that as the kind of 3, 4, 5 really kind of pulled their weight in this case. And there wasn't Thakur scored a vital 28 off 24, Ashwin 16 off 14. But honestly, I'm a Rishabh Pant fan. But even he'll say that shot was honestly just a terrible shot because he basically just it was kind of a chit chat from Rassi van der Dusen, and I think it was something to do with the Rabada plays for the Delhi Capitals. I think he just thought, let's just charge him and see what happens, and he charged him and he got out caught behind, and a 3-ball duck. And especially look, if Rishabh Pant even batted 15-20 minutes and India could have got quite a few, at least 20 more runs, it could have been defending 260 or rather than 240. And I know South Africa, they won by 7 wickets, and so you could say they probably wouldn't have found it too difficult to get to 25 extra runs. But I still think that Rishabh Pant, if he had just hung around for a while, then India would have had more to defend. And the bowling economy rates probably weren't that great in this innings and the next one, but I guess the batsmen had to counter that because there's one. You'd think that there's one with your name on it coming fairly soon, and so whatever opportunity there is to score runs, you take it. So then the South African innings. Now again, I talked about in the start of the video that no one expected them to chase 240, especially considering the totals they've got in the previous 3 innings and against this Indian attack. But they batted brilliantly. Aiden Markram scored 31 off 38. Now, with him and Rassi van der Dusen, I think that with Aiden Markram, I won't really blame him too much. It's not like he's received bad bowling. And I think that in this case, he's just you've seen him play counter-attacking innings in South Africa in Test before. And he just thought, I'm going to get, as I said, he just thought, I'll just play my shots. Let's see what happens. And you can see he kind of did his job. And I think that in the end, for South Africa, there was 61 for 1, and in the end, 118 for 2. And I think that kind of a start really gave them this foundation. And I just think that the 38 runs of 8 overs South Africa got off Bumrah and kind of really gave them this quick runs and gave them some impetus. So, I think it was very important that they got those quick runs off Bumrah. And then Keegan Peterson walked into bat, and actually before that, I'm going to say about Rassi van der Dusen. Another thing is he scored 40, a good 40 in this innings, and I think that he was kind of unlucky. It's not like he played badly at all, but maybe in the first innings of the first test, his dismissal wasn't too great, but he couldn't do anything about the second innings dismissal, and even there was a controversy about this one where he did walk, and I think is that he did kind of stick around for quite a long time in those innings, apart from the 1 of 17, but even then he was looking to do the same thing. And I think that in this, especially in this in this day, he finally got some bowling where you could say runs could be scored off, and he took that opportunity. He scored 40 off 92. And yeah, I don't think that these two have been kind of playing badly. I just think that they have received quite some good bowling, and well, they both did their job in this inning. So yeah, I think that they still, that we know that they are quality players. And so yeah, that's about those two. And Keegan Peterson once again played brilliantly for his 28 or 44. And Bavuma once again with an unbeaten 23 or 45. Now the thing is, I really think that the Indian bowlers, the problem is between yesterday and today, I just think there's one. So for 118 for two, right? And you think South Africa are in front, which they marginally were, but India still bowled quite well, and they were kind of unlucky. They were unlucky yesterday, and you could say they were unlucky today as well, with quite a few deliveries that beat the bat. But I think that the difference between today and yesterday was that yesterday they didn't panic, and you could say there was a reason for it, which I'll get to shortly. But yesterday they did not panic, even though, or rather, that they just kind of just stuck to what they were doing. They didn't try too much to go for these bounces that you saw bounce over the keeper a month before. They just still stuck at a length, and I think that yeah, they just didn't lose their heads. And you could say the reason why they lost their head today is because, look, you could say South Africa were halfway there overnight, and when they were getting closer and closer, they would have wanted wickets because the margin of runs was getting less and less, and then they started trying more things. But even then, you could say that based on past history and look, the lineup that they dismissed last time around 4 years ago, if they just stuck to the length, and even then, there was kind of a window that was opened a little bit with Van der Loosen getting out, and if the kind of the one-handed cat had stuck for Shardul Thakur. I'm not saying India would have won the game at that point, but they could have potentially looked to take a bit more wickets if Bavuma had been dismissed then. But I'm saying that India got desperate. You could say understandably so, but some of the deliveries, I think they bowled way too many short stuff that just bounced over the pitch. You could say that the kind of bounce over the keeper's head for four, one for around five wides. You could say that they kind of did that because the South Africa were getting closer and closer to the total, but I still think that they should have held their nerve a bit more. And honestly, they bowled, let alone boundaries, they kind of bowled too many balls kind of in to the leg stump. Even if they could hit they can get a single. And they bowled as if they had 400 runs to defend rather than 240. They were way too. I think that if you look at the discipline wise in this case, South Africa, and look, you could say that Mohammad Siraj not being able to bowl because of, or rather, he bowled 6 overs, but in the last 2 overs he got whacked. And I think that Mohammad Siraj who's not fully fit, so you could say that with an Ashwin who you could say he's not the prime source of kind of the wicket taker in these conditions. So it's basically three bowlers, and the workloads would have been tough, and I do understand that. But the lines and the lengths that they bowled just weren't good enough, and I think that, yeah, they got frustrated, especially Bumrah. He tried too many things. And 70 runs in 17 overs, you'd never see Bumrah giving those kind of that kind of figures with no wickets. And it's not even about the no wickets, it's just about you'd never see him give 70 runs in 17 overs. But then Mohammad Shami, 155 in 17. Thakur was decent, I thought. 1 for 47 and 16. One wicket as well in the second innings. Ashwin was the most economical of the lot, I think. 1 for 26 and 11.4. And the fact that he actually managed to get a top six batsman, yeah, in these conditions was good on him as well. And then this is the bit that I didn't really get. I mean, if you're going to lose the game, then okay, you still have other bowlers to go to, or you could at least have bowled Ashwin. But if Siraj isn't fit, why would you then bowl him when you know that the game is probably out of your grasp? Or even if you wanted to, or if you wanted to kind of just see if there was a way that you could open the door, you have the other three seamers that could do that. But instead you go with Siraj, and he was frustrated from the start. He gave, I think, 16 runs in an over, and he gave 23 runs in the 2 overs that he bowled today. And yeah, I just think that India, they had the tools from the pitch, their tools with their own bowling, and they had the fact that they'd done this before to South Africa, and they're facing an arguably a weaker lineup. But I think that lineup played very well in this innings, and I think that they really, yeah, as I said, the balance between attacking and keeping the good balls out, with Dean Elgar kind of being the rock who everyone else batted around. And yeah, I just think that India, not only with the boundaries, that they gave too many singles away. You could even say the captaincy wasn't that good. Now, here's the thing is, you can say the captaincy wasn't that great, and I do think that if Kohli was captain, with him being more aggressive, I do think India would have had a much better fight of defending the total. But at the same time, the bowlers didn't help KL Rahul, and Siraj's injury did not help India either, because as I said, four bowlers, which one of them's a spinner, and I think that as the runs are reducing, and you think that I know there was some purchase for Ashwin today, but I think that as the runs were reducing, they were playing him quite well, and as the runs were reducing, you think that the Pacers will be the ones that make things happen in these conditions. And because of that, they kind of just lost the plot a bit. And so you could point out Rahul's captaincy, but at the same time, Siraj's injury and the bowlers just weren't at their best. So I don't think that would have helped him either. But I think also the field setting, I'm not going to say too much about it, because again, it wasn't that bad. But at the same time, I think they allowed too many singles, but that was also partly because of the kind of the bowling and the leg stumps. So congratulations to South Africa. India would be really disappointed, because they were in this game for pretty much. This was a great test match to watch. Actually, both teams walked in today with, either team could have won it. India will be very disappointed with getting 240, quite a healthy target to defend in these conditions, and having done it before, they didn't do it. And I honestly think that it actually shows why kind of Kohli's importance to this team, I guess, because honestly, if you look at that batting lineup, yes, the three kind of pulled their weight in the second innings, but I'm saying that Kohli just in that team, it just it just kind of stands out, and especially with his captaincy, I think Kohli is actually the most suited to captaining in tests, because I think in white ball cricket you kind of involve a lot more in captaincy, kind of a lot more, let's say, party tricks, as in you have to kind of know a bit more nuances and make decisions very quickly at the right time, so on. But I think with Kohli in test cricket, you had to have a weight of contribution, and I think that he gives his fast bowlers especially freedom. He's very aggressive, and I think that he really just lets his fast bowlers just go all out, and with the quality that India have in their ranks, I think that he's able to do that, and he gets results. And I think that India have become this team that they have because of basically of his leadership. And I think that the bowlers that probably weren't in their prime under Dhoni are now in their prime under Kohli, and that's helped. I'd probably say that's probably made the Indian pace battery as lethal as it is, with the addition of Jasprit Bumrah, and you see it Siraj and Thakur and stuff. And the thing is, I think that with Kohli is the fact that the reason why he's so important to this team is just the weight of contribution. He leads from the front with the bat, and in the field as well, with his captaincy style is very aggressive. And I think you don't really, rather than just tactics in that you see in white ball cricket, as I said, kind of just quick decisions. In test cricket, I just think that you just need to just be all out, look to take wickets, and I think that he does that. So you could say that with Kohli, a more attacking captain than Rahul, you could say that maybe India would have had a better chance. But at the same time, as I said before, there were other things as well. And so the India have lost this game, and 1-1 going into the next test. And it's actually my favourite stadium in the next test, the Newlands in Cape Town. I think the backdrop and everything is pretty good, and that's why it's my favourite ground. And so other things that happened in cricket. So the Ashes, the fourth test currently going on, with England 13 without loss at the end of day 2. And day 1 and day 2 were kind of a bit, especially at the early, until probably mid day 2 probably, was quite rain interrupted. But then Australia's got 416, so that's going to start probably going on now. And then Bangladesh beat New Zealand. Honestly, great for them, because I think, without Shakib Al Hasan as well, they beat New Zealand. And you never thought that with the Bangladeshis. I think they've actually only won for the first 100 tests. They only won 9 of them. So them going away to New Zealand, and especially with the kind of the thrashings they've received from New Zealand in the past, and I think that was a game where Shakib scored 217. I think 4 years ago, and still I think Bangladesh lost that game. So I think that the fact is that them winning this game, the hats off to them, and that's basically what I have. And and on to the next test, which starts at the 11th. And I just want to say that Shami bowled a lot of overs. I think the workload is a huge issue, because luckily, you'd say Bumrah only bowled 7 point something overs in the first innings of the first test, because you could say that I said it manages workload, and it manages workload for this test, because yeah, he's bowled 21 overs in the first innings and 17 overs in the second innings, and Shami bowling 21 overs in the first innings and 17 overs in the second innings as well. So again, they had to really toil hard because of the lack of the fourth seamer that could also help them. So yeah, I think that workloads are going to have to be managed, and yeah, let's see what happens in the next test. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?